has NAR changed your business? Has it? Because I think it has a lot. And yet I ask a bunch of agents and they're saying, it hasn't changed anything. It has in my world. I'll bet it's changed in yours too. So I'm Kathy Burns. I'm a waterfront luxury global realtor here in the Lake Norman area of North Carolina, just above Charlotte. So anyway, I started asking a bunch of agents because I do these videos, and I thought, let me do a video about how NAR has changed their business. And the response I got back, almost 100% was it hasn't changed it at all. And I'm thinking, wow, that's interesting. Okay, for me, let me give you an example. So this week I had, and interest rates too, because that just changed the whole game. So it is September 18th. We're 1 month and 1 day into the whole new NAR rules. And I had a client who wanted to make an offer on a beautiful home. Price point was $1,199,000. Beautiful, meticulous. And there were going to be multiple offers. We knew it right away. It was in a really popular neighborhood. It was hot, had a pool, and she was going to do a loan on it, very highly qualified, conventional loan, going to put a big chunk down, and was flexible as far as closing because she would have preferred to pay cash. She had another house that she was going to sell. She has investment properties, but she decided to get a loan on this one. And so we were going to do it as a normal offer. I really wasn't paying too much attention that the interest rates had dropped down because they weren't a factor to her because we'd been talking cash. This was my mistake. So anyway, the NAR part was where I had filled out the buyer agency agreement, explained to her all the new rules. And because she was a repeat client and a high dollar client, I said, you know what? Let me do this at 2.5%. I'll find out what they're offering. And they were offering 2.5%, which was great. So I don't have to do anything. I asked for the signed in North Carolina. We have a form called a 220 form. I asked for that. I got it. It was beautiful. It was signed by the seller. Okay, now I'm comfortable. So now I go forward and we put in an offer. Strong offer, $51,000 over list price. Strong offer, right? And I did the 30-day due diligence, which we have here in North Carolina, which is normal. And then I did the 45-day close. Now, in retrospect, I'm kicking myself because it was so neat and tidy. I could have done our inspections in a shorter time frame. I also did a really high due diligence, which here in North Carolina is non-refundable. So I said, let's do $25,000 on this property. And so they had no problem with that. So we did $25,000 due diligence. We did a 30-day due diligence period. That's where the buyer has the right to walk for any reason, but they lose that money. And if they go forward, it's credited at closing, right? And they knew that because they'd worked with me a couple years before when they bought a different home. But I re-explained it so they were all real clear. We had our buyer agency agreement where they knew that if the seller wasn't doing it, they were going to pay me the 2.5. They were fine with that. I said, I'll do my best to negotiate that. They said, great. And when I found out before we went to show it that the seller was paying, and I was happy about that. So anyway, I put in the offer, and we within 24 hours found out we lost it. I'm like, no, we can't have lost it. What happened? And I'm thinking, who's paying $51,000 over in this market? Because in our market, even the luxury, it's moving slower right now. And so that threw me. I said, how many days were the due diligence days? And he said 21. I go, that's where I messed up. I should have done a shorter due diligence. You don't know what you don't know. You're doing the best that you can to figure it all out. But because that home was so neat and tidy, I mean, it was perfect. Every possible organizational tool was handled in that house. So that was an important lesson. So now we're going to see another home this week. They're not offering the 2.5%. They're only offering 2. This is the part where NAR comes into play. So I go do my comps because I want to be prepared because this one too is a very nice home. So, and it's incoming soon right now. I'm going to be gone. So I have somebody else that's going to show them the property. I want to be completely prepared. So if they wanted to write an offer, I'd already know my numbers. I'd already know my range to present to my clients. And so I go in. So I went in the price point and the size of the house in the same neighborhood about this house. And what was interesting to me, you can't see what they're offering in compensation, which is the frustrating part. So there's your strategy gone. But what I did notice were in all the closed, there were 5 homes. 4 out of the 5 had seller concessions. All sold at near 100% or 102 up to 105% over, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I think they're all talking to each other and they're probably all doing 2%, but I don't know that for a fact. I could call the agents after the fact and find out. I didn't think of that till just a second. Anyway, my point being is when you're saying that things aren't different because of NAR, I believe that they really are. Because as a realtor, we've really now got to strategize different things. I'm a big believer, whether I'm a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, that I go through and I'm comping like at a really in-depth scenario. I'm looking at all these homes. Now I've got my range. I can see from the pictures, the quality. I also know the neighborhood. So we'll be within range. And I always tell my buyers, if you're going to pay over, you need to be prepared that it will not appraise and be prepared to pay the difference if it doesn't. If the seller requests that in writing, we will give that to them in writing. I'll put that in the email when I send it so that they know that that's available. All they have to do is ask us for that form and we would confirm that if we were in multiple offers. I want to know that information because I want to be dead on to when I say to my buyers, you got to decide the amount that you're willing to go over. That's not me. I'm not making that decision because you have to realize it's going to take a bit to catch up where the appreciation, if at all, truthfully, will it appreciate? How long you keep in this property? You have to factor this in. Now, the market was like that before, right? When everybody was paying incredible prices for the homes. Well, it feels like it in this little niche right now because I think the rates dropped. Well, with the rates dropping like that, I think it's bringing out the buyers that now are willing to jump in because the rates are littler. And because they've honestly, I've really watched even in the luxury market, they were sitting there. I saw it in the lower price points sitting there, but now I'm actually seeing it in the luxury because there's a lot of luxury homes that have been sitting on the market a couple months. That's unheard of. And so many of those are paid for in cash, but not all, right? The reality is we have to pay attention to the market all the time. Realtors are important. If you don't know that about you as a realtor, you need to know it. You also need to step up your games so that you are that professional realtor, one that does comp these properties, one that does do all the work to make sure that you're giving your client the best service that you can and not be known as just the door opener, because you're not, unless you are. And if you are, stop it, get out there and start doing it right. To give you an example, I have a client this week. I sold them their house maybe about 9 or 10 years ago. Love them, stay in touch all the time. Well, they called me up a couple months ago and said, Kath, we're going to move back up by our kids, and they're in their early 80s. And I said, okay. And they go, we're going to sell the house. I took a look at the house. I'm like, guys, we got to do some deep thinning here. Oh, no, we're going to keep it all. I go, okay. It's very expensive to move all the stuff to a new location, especially out of state. But more importantly, it's the packing. You guys are in your early 80s. Honestly, they weren't, really high fit people, just sweet people that I adore. Well, anyway, they go up there, they find their new house, they're under contract, and they're supposed to close, I think she said, October, November. Call me up and say, Dad fell. The daughter calls me up, Dad fell. Oh, shoot. Well, it turned out to be a blessing because we found out he has brain cancer. Oh, that's the blessing? Well, you wouldn't have known he had the cancer if he didn't fall and they x-rayed his head. So now there's an urgency to sell the house. Daughter calls me, the mother's distraught, the mother, my client. And so she said, Kath, I'm just going to need your help with everything. Well, of course. And because I am a professional, I had the mover, the people that'll do the packing, the people that'll come over with the dumpster. I had all that information for her so that when the daughter drove down here to assess the property, which was full, she felt supported. And my client, her mother, called me yesterday and says, Kath, I don't know what we'd do if we didn't have you. You're just handling everything. It's because I'm connected, I'm on purpose, I'm doing my job as a professional. That's what we do. There's so much more to a realtor's role. Be proud of it. Be confident. I was telling an agent the other day that I was struggling with telling them what I wanted for my commission. When I know that I'm worth it and I earn it. And that's what I realized. And it was like a sucker punch to myself, or a slap in the face anyway. Wake up, Kathy. You are the professional and you earn your commission. Don't be uncomfortable explaining why you have value for it. And I don't want you to do that either. And I want you to see who you are. Are you the kind of agent that works as hard for your client? If you are, and so many that I know are, then stand tall when you're asking for that percent on that buyer agency agreement. List out the things that you do. If you haven't created a buyer presentation, then do. Make sure you get it done, because NAR has changed the business today, and you need to be proud of who you are. And I'd like to do a big slap in the face to the attorneys that did this lawsuit with NAR, because they're the only winners here. The people that may have suggested it to them, they're not getting much. And I'll tell you what, John Q. Public is suffering from this too, because it's nuts. And when we will all get settled down and we will all figure it out. But in the interim, it's a disruptor for all the people that want to buy and sell their homes. It's stressful, because everybody's already stressed in buying, sell their homes. So we'll work it out. We'll smooth it out. One other little last thing. All these brokers and states, we're all different how we do our business. It's not one thing works for everybody. It just doesn't. So be sure you're checking with your broker and your MLS to make sure you're following the rules, because unfortunately there's lots of fines being penalized to different agents that are trying to do their best and misunderstanding it, or the brokers aren't presenting it to their agents effectively. There's a lot of little mom and pop brokerages out there doing their best to do it right. There's even full franchise brokers out there not doing it well. If you're with EXP, you could even still be doing it wrong if you're not paying attention. So hang in there. Let's go ahead and get this handled. If you like this kind of stuff, please subscribe below and ask questions. See what I can do to help you. Share it with your friends, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.